Chapter 11, Missing a Person? Add me. Yishu actually laughed and asked, "What's up?" This dull and casual tone made Sleeping Moon speechless. He was almost convinced that this wasn't the person that he had raged at for half a day. Although the masses believed that he had been cheated, he and Lord Grimm were both well aware that this was a false accusation. But how could this guy act like nothing had happened? Did he not see the previous messages? The shameless novice Lord Grimm, in order to steal the hidden boss for himself, didn't heal the party members on purpose and let them die. Everyone be careful. Sleeping Moon immediately sent out the stored message twice and looked forward to Yishu's reaction. But in the end Yishu said, "You're still doing it? You're not going to level up? I want you to know my might. Do you now know that my full moon guild isn't to be messed with?" Sleeping Moon had prepared these words for a while now. But now that he said them, he felt that the context was completely off. It was as if his words were like a knife stabbing through cotton, not impressive at all. "I know. I can't find anyone to party with anymore," Yishu said. Hearing this, Sleeping Moon felt a little more at ease and laughed out loud. "Let's see you offend me again." He didn't think that Yishu said, "Aren't you missing a person? Why not add me?" Sleeping Moon was immediately dumbstruck. "Damn, how low are you? Ha ha, add me. Now that we know each other more, why don't we work together?" Yishu unexpectedly took the initiative and sent him a request. Sleeping Moon did indeed have a 4-player party, and it obviously wasn't the previous team. The other 3 players were all members of Full Moon Guild. Establishing a guild could only be done after leaving the beginner village, so these were all members from old servers that transferred over to the new 10th server. And in the end, they were all put into the same beginner village. Before, when Sleeping Moon wanted the hidden boss to himself, it was obviously inconvenient to do it with his own guild members, so he went and found 4 other random players. Unfortunately, he bumped into Yishu, who helped and then betrayed him. Right after, he immediately asked the guild for help and also conveniently got the former members to help slander Yishu. He wanted to defame Lord Grimm right then and there. But the result? The result was this: the guy didn't seem to care at all. With no one wanting him, he bluntly requested to join his party. Looking at his request, Sleeping Moon didn't know whether to accept or decline it. Sleeping Moon was at a loss. Learning from his mistake, he felt that this person wasn't a simple character. What was his goal? As he hesitated, a brother on the side privately messaged him, "Add him. This guy's asking for death. Once we enter the dungeon, what can he do?" Sleeping Moon thought about it. He had 4 allies on his side. There was absolutely no reason to be afraid of him. Thus, Yishu entered the Green Forest with these 4 people. This time their luck wasn't too good and they didn't encounter the Midnight Phantom Cat. Yishu laughed and asked, "Do you still need me to heal?" "No need. Everyone will attack together." As Sleeping Moon said this, the 4 had already rushed up to attack the monsters. These 4 clearly weren't newbies. Their skills were very veteran-like, and with this skill level, 2 or 3 people were enough to easily clear the Green Forest dungeon. Adding in another person, their efficiency flew through the roof. Yishu also didn't speak much. He swung his myriad manifestation umbrella into a lance and attacked. Sky Strike, Dragon Tooth, these 2 were attack skills. Of course, besides these skills, the character also had normal attacks. Players, through the direction and strength of normal attacks, controlled many kinds of attack patterns such as straight stabs, horizontal slashes, vertical chops, uppercut, etc. When these sort of attacks were fully utilized, they were sometimes extremely similar to skills, except their effects were different. For example, Sky Strike was a type of uppercut attack, but the knock-up effects and damage were much stronger than a normal uppercut. Dragon Tooth was a type of straight stab. Its stabbing speed was much quicker and could also cause the opponent to be stunned for a small duration. When a character was stunned, he would not be able to put out any actions. Yishu didn't need to use these skills. His normal attacks were already enough to kill those Green Forest monsters with ease. It was just that when he withdrew his lance in an area with no monsters, a monster would suddenly be pushed onto him by the others. Yishu laughed and accepted it. He knew that it was Sleeping Moon and his other helpers deliberately pushing these small monsters onto him. They wanted to put him into a situation where he was surrounded on all sides. But surrounded was surrounded, how could Yishu not be able to deal with it? He had been surrounded by 5 green forest monsters more than once. Sending a sky strike onto a monster, he broke out of the encirclement. With a horizontal sweep, his right hand chopped and slashed and the 5 little monsters lined up to die. The other 4 just watched and looked on without lifting a finger to help. But in the end, they saw how Lord Grimm dispatched the monsters at lightning speed. His might was tyrannical. Seeing this, the 4 were even somewhat jealous. This guy's skill is really good, a party member called Seven Fields nodded his head expressing his approval. He's a veteran. Looking at his skill, he could easily solo the Green Forest dungeon, another person said. He knows his stuff. He soloed off the Berserk Midnight Phantom Cat. I wouldn't have thought that his skill level was above mine, Sleeping Moon said. With this skill, there's no way he would die in Green Forest, a person concluded. How about we go to Spider Cave when we hit level 10? Seven Fields said to the other 3. Spider Cave was a level 10 to 15 dungeon. It was much harder than Green Forest. If Green Forest's purpose was to give players time to get used to the game, then once they hit level 10, from Spider Cave onwards, players needed to start using actual strategy and skill to clear it. It was called Spider Cave because the monsters were spiders. There were 2 types. One type was long-ranged and spit out webs that had a chance to bind. Players that were bound wouldn't be able to move. The other type was melee-ranged and its bite had a chance to poison. Players that were poisoned would continuously lose health. In Green Forest, only the hidden boss had these sort of status-inducing attacks. Besides normal monsters, Spider Cave had 3 bosses, a long-ranged one, a melee-ranged one, and a Spider Lord as the final boss. The hidden bosses were Spider Elite, Spider Warrior, and a Spider Emperor. Because levels 1 to 10 went by quickly, there were still many that hadn't gotten used to the game yet. When they opened up the Spider Dungeon, they wouldn't come out alive. Thus, the beginner guides never recommended it. The only ones that would consider this dungeon were people like Sleeping Moon because they already possessed some level of skill as veterans. If we kill this guy in the Spider Cave, we'll only have 4 people. Will we still be able to clear it? Sleeping Moon hesitated. As long as we don't meet the hidden boss, it shouldn't be a problem, Seven Fields said. If we meet a hidden boss, even he won't be able to beat it. The Spider Cave is a lot harder than here, a person said. True. Then let's first hurry and level up. When we get to level 10, let's head to Spider Cave, Sleeping Moon said. Suddenly, a member that hadn't spoken the entire time said, then we're going to bring him to level up? And then kill him? Sleeping Moon heard this and was startled. Hearing this, his plan was indeed stupid. But Seven Fields already found an explanation. It'd be better to say, we'll first let him do all the hard work and then kick him out. Right. It'll be like this, Sleeping Moon felt relieved. Chapter 12, Spider Cave, 1. The 4 guys were very aggressive. They sneakily discussed on one side and let Yishu do all of the hard work. It was good that they hadn't completely seen Yishu as an idiot. After arguing, the 4 went up and helped Yishu clear monsters. While they cleared, they slowly explained, just a moment ago our guild had some business to take care of. We were a little out of focus. We're good now. Come on guys, Yishu dully said a few words as if he wasn't suspicious at all. The 4 were secretly delighted. If they cooperated together, the 4 veterans and the expert Yishu, they would easily cruise by this dungeon. Every person killed happily. Their outer appearance didn't show any signs of an ulterior motive. Have you noticed that this guy's damage is very high? Seven Fields and Sleeping Moon muttered quietly. It looks like it. I've never seen that lance-like weapon before, Sleeping Moon said. I don't know either. I don't pay attention to low-level lances, Seven Fields said. It'd be good if it dropped when we kill this guy, Sleeping Moon said. So what if it dropped? No matter how high of an attack it has, it's still a low-level weapon. We won't be able to use it for long, Seven Fields said. True, Sleeping Moon nodded. Each side did not provoke the other and cooperated harmoniously. Going in and out of Green Forest, their efficiency was extremely high. It was unfortunate, however, that they didn't meet the hidden boss Midnight Phantom Cat again. After clearing it a few times, Lord Grimm was the first to reach level 10. The first hidden boss kill gave him an ample amount of experience. Green Forest only had one hidden boss so far. Just relying on this, Lord Grimm was already pretty far up on the 10th server level leaderboards. Only the first to reach level 10 was not him. That player was called Blue River. This was already his second time to be announced by the system. The first time was when he and 4 others were the first to clear Green Forest. Seeing that Lord Grimm was the first among them to reach level 10, Sleeping Moon felt a fit of nervousness. They were afraid that this guy would just leave them. Who knew that Lord Grimm only laughed and said, "I've leveled up." After a few sounds of congratulations, he entered the Green Forest with the other 4 again. The experience gap between them wasn't too great. After clearing this dungeon, Sleeping Moon and the others all reached level 10. The 5 of them also obtained quite a few equipment. "Brother, we work quite well together. Now that we've all hit level 10, why don't we go and tackle Spider Cave together?" Seven Fields went up and asked Yishu. Sleeping Moon and Yishu once had a disagreement. Now this sudden change of heart made him feel a little odd. In addition, Sleeping Moon still continued to look at Yishu maliciously and just let Seven Fields play the role of a mediator. Yishu heard this and agreed. Only he first said that he would go and learn skills first. For skill points, it didn't matter whether they were given as quest rewards, leveling, killing a certain amount of monsters, or dueling, these would all only allow him to reach the 4,000 skill points. From level 7 to level 10, he didn't have many skill points accumulated. But the most important part was that level 10 was another period when new skills could be learned. The other 4 were obviously going to learn too. Thus, each of them looked for a teacher to learn from. Afterwards, they grouped up at Spider Cave. There weren't many people at the entrance of Spider Cave. After all, they had leveled up relatively fast compared to ordinary players, and newbies wouldn't consider going to this dungeon. Outside, there were only a few randomly made parties. Because the dungeon was difficult, they would all ask about each other's equipments. Forming a party wasn't so carefree. Yishu and the others were straightforward. Without saying a word, they directly entered. Only this time, Sleeping Moon and the other 3 helpers began to act evilly. "Should we immediately kill him or look at the situation first?" one person asked quietly. "Why don't we look first? If this person truly is an expert, let's use him first. Why don't we plan again when the boss comes?" Seven Fields suggested. Okay. The other members had no other opinions. Truthfully, those members had no enmity with Yishu. The person in front of them was so outstanding. He was also the one with the most DPS in the group. They were a little unwilling to part with him. But to give their friend Sleeping Moon some face, in the end, they still went forward with the plan. Although no one said anything, they were all quite regretful. "You all brought antidotes?" Seven Fields asked everyone, which everyone replied with a yes. Only Yishu actually laughed. "No need. This guy's looking for death." Sleeping Moon didn't feel too good about Yishu's confidence. "Then let's go," Seven Fields said happily. The inside of Spider Cave was gloomy and spider webs could be seen everywhere. From time to time, scattered skeletons could be seen. It looked sinister and terrible. Sleeping Moon and the others all looked a bit nervous. When a character died in glory, they would lose experience. In the normal world, it was a 10% decrease, and equipment also had a chance of dropping, though the chances were fairly low. But when the player reached the heavenly domain, dying became scary. The player would lose 20% of their experience, and equipment had a high chance of dropping. Looking at Lord Grimm again, he walked in large strides with his battle lance as if it were the same as Green Forest. Sleeping Moon and the others saw that this guy took the initiative to detect the mines. It was a good thing for them anyways. Towards these low-level dungeons, Yishu had pretty much forgotten what was in them. He remembered that he had once done a guide for Spider Cave, but he couldn't recall it at all. It had already been almost 10 years. Just when Yi Shu was sighing, a shadow suddenly leapt out from a crack in a rock directly towards Lord Grimm. Yi Shu's left hand tapped the keyboard and his right hand dragged the mouse. Lord Grimm rolled backwards to dodge it and launched Sky Strike. A melee-ranged green spider pounced onto him, but was hit by Sky Strike in mid-air. Adding attacks while the opponent was knocked up was a fundamental skill in Glory. How could Yi Shu miss this opportunity? After an intense burst of keyboard typing and mouse clicking, Lord Grimm leapt up brandishing his lance. From up in the air to down on the ground, he slashed madly at the green spider. Poo 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 poo. 4 strikes landed in quick succession. The green spider was hit aside onto a rock. F***ck, no way, 7 Field said with great alarm. He comboed it 4 times in midair. Another person also cried out in fear. He can combo 4 times at level 10? The third person. Sleeping Moon could only open his mouth in shock, speechless. A 4-hit combo in midair. This was a widely known battle mage combo that few players could execute. It was simple in theory. It was just a normal straight stab, dragon tooth, and then 2 hits from the level 10 battle mage skill double stab to complete it. I heard only players with an APM of 170 or higher can execute this sort of combo, 7 Field said. Can't that only be done by a professional battle mage after his speed has been buffed? Another person reminded. He's still only an unspecialized character. How big is the difference in speed between an unspecialized character and a battle mage? I don't know. You'd still have to consider equipment. But it doesn't look like any of his equipment increases speed. Lord Grimm was pretty much the same as theirs. What about weapon? Could it be his weapon? Let's not worry about the reason. Even if you were a battle mage and wore a set of speed increasing flowing light equipment, could you guys combo it 4 times in midair? Silence. If they could do it, they wouldn't be so astonished. Just who is this person? The 3 members looked towards Sleeping Moon. Chapter 13, Spider Cave 2. I say we shouldn't offend this guy, 7 Field said in a serious tone towards the other 3, but his gaze faced Sleeping Moon. Right, to have a 170 and up APM, he must be a great expert, another one agreed. 170 is only a conservative estimate. He's an unspecialized character without any equipment, yet he can still combo 4 times in midair. I feel like his APM would probably be above 200, right? 200 APM. In our guild, I'm afraid only our guild leader has this level of skill, no? Not only should we not offend him, we should try to rope him in. This type of expert probably has a special background. They discussed this issue one by one and only Sleeping Moon didn't say anything. He understood their reasoning very clearly. Actually, after all of these dungeons, Sleeping Moon's hate for Yi Shu had already weakened. If he could successfully cause this guy to die, then he would be satisfied. But now that he knew that this person was a great expert and that going against him wasn't easy, his hate once again arose. He himself couldn't explain this feeling clearly. He was envious, jealous, etc. He had them all. Right when he was going to say something, he saw that his 3 brothers were all watching Lord Grimm in awe, their mouths repeatedly gasping in surprise. Sleeping Moon also turned around to look and found that this guy's incredible skill really did exist. The monsters in Green Forest were too weak. With Lord Grimm's high damage, he killed monsters too quickly for him to judge properly. Although the boss had more health, all of them ganged up to attack it, so it wasn't clear either. Now that he was attacking these high HP spiders, his skill level could be seen clearly now. His combo has already reached 17. It hasn't been broken ever since he made that 4-hit combo. It looks like he's using the wall to rebound it and then using a normal uppercut. I really didn't think he would have been able to connect that Sky Strike. Too beautiful. The 3 people all repeatedly gasped in amazement, making Sleeping Moon feel extremely disgusted. Right when he was about to say something, 7 Fields had already turned around towards him. Hear me out. Let's not make things difficult for this guy. It's okay for you to be on bad terms with him, but let the rest of us negotiate with him. Sleeping Moon nodded his head in silence. He was a little bitter, but he knew that Seven Fields and the others were already preparing to rope this player in. What guild wouldn't want such a highly skilled player? By comparison, he himself was only a normal member of Full Moon Guild. No one would make things difficult for this type of expert just for his sake. How beautiful. That green spider had been killed by Lord Grimm in the span of a single breath. Seven Fields and the others all immediately circled up and gasped in admiration. They didn't need to fake this because this player's skill was indeed incredible. Brother, I now see that your skills are truly out of the ordinary, Seven Fields said. It's nothing much. That player was still so humble towards this type of admiration. It seemed as if the player that Sleeping Moon had told them to frame was a completely different person. Brother, in the other servers, what guild sent you here to this new server? Seven Fields asked. But he felt that the likelihood was low. What guild would send him here alone? This person was most likely by himself. None. I'm by myself, as expected. Really? You actually aren't part of a guild? Brother, this level of skill can't be found so easily. How could any guild not want you? Seven Fields pretended to be astonished. There are no guilds in this server yet, Yishu said. Seven Fields stared blankly. This server didn't have any guilds yet, but what about old servers? It wasn't possible for this type of expert to have just started playing Glory. Although the player wouldn't say, Seven Fields reckoned that he probably had a disagreement with his former guild, which is why he sulkily ran to a new server to play. This was an opportunity. It was the perfect time to make this player feel that their Full Moon Guild was a warm environment. Brother, what server were you a part of before? Seven Fields began questioning. I haven't played in a while, an irrelevant answer. He had dodged the first question. Oh, Seven Fields could only say oh. How could he break the ice? Seven Fields was stuck at a wall. In the end, it was clear that he wasn't interested in chatting and continued to advance. But this time, Seven Fields and the others all surrounded him inseparably close as if he had already become the core member of their party. Sleeping Moon felt awkward, but he could only stay silent. With this expert overseeing them, they advanced smoothly through the dungeon. The four members that brought an antidote, sure enough, didn't need to use it because Lord Grimm aggroed all of the spiders onto his body and dodged by using running, rolling, and jumping type skills. The four would sometimes even lose themselves to Lord Grimm's beautiful movements and forget to attack the monsters. If I remember correctly, there should be a bunch of spiders up ahead. After killing them, the first boss will appear, but we won't know whether it's poisonous or web shooting. It's one of the difficult parts of this dungeon. Let's. Seven Fields, at this moment, saw that Lord Grimm had already rushed up and began killing. He could only helplessly correct himself. Okay, then let's go. Seven Fields' memory was correct. This part of the cave did indeed have a lot of spiders. There were a total of 70, 30 poisonous and 40 web shooting. They were all linked too. So right when they closed in, all 70 of them neatly rushed out. Hurry up, Seven Fields called out to his three brothers. He wouldn't dare command Lord Grimm. He didn't know how far apart their levels were. Only, this time there were 70 spiders. No matter how good Lord Grimm was, there was no way he would be able to aggro all of them. After all, he was only level 10. He didn't have any crowd control skills yet. So he called out everyone to go forward and relieve some of Lord Grimm's pressure. In the end, with a wah, Lord Grimm shook the battle lance in his hands and a half circle slashed out. 4 spiders were split open in an instant. 2 spiders rushed up and 2 spiders spit out webs. Lord Grimm leapt backwards, avoiding the spider webs. At the same time, he spun in midair and with another shake of the battle lance, 2 spiders behind him were hit. After landing, he flipped sideways and avoided another spider web. He got up and executed a sky strike. The 7th spider was knocked up into the sky. It couldn't even spit out its web. The 4 others all immediately went into disarray. Is he still even a person? The 4 people all wanted to say this, but Glory, that wretched voice system, would let him hear it. That wouldn't be good. But besides saying that, there were no other words to describe how they currently felt. A 180-degree horizontal sweep, my God, everyone held their breath and could only type it out. To be able to spin his body after a short hop backwards and then strike accurately 2 times. And that perfect sky strike right after the roll. That's not human, everyone firmly believed. Although all of these were the combination of basic skills, not everyone could do them. For example, the 180-degree horizontal sweep was just a normal attack, but the sweeping angle depended on mouse control. The faster the mouse movement, the larger the angle. It also had to do with the character's attack speed. At level 10, a 180-degree horizontal sweep wasn't something that could be done by any ordinary person. Chapter 14, Spider Cave 3. Everyone bowed down and worshipped him. Even Sleeping Moon couldn't help but admit it. This person forcibly used skills in a way that couldn't be done by a level 10. It was ridiculous. Brother, the way you use these battle mage skills is too tyrannical. Seven Fields truly meant it. If he didn't say this, he would have received internal injuries from holding his breath for too long. Ha ha. It's not bad. Lord Grimm had been surrounded by 7 monsters. Stabbing, cutting, slashing, chopping as if we're handling a butcher's cleaver with ease. The others felt embarrassed to be there just watching him. They were all veterans and could all control aggro well. They wouldn't mess up Lord Grimm's control over the 7 spiders. What they had originally thought was too difficult, in the end was easily resolved. But all 4 of them understood that to set up this abnormal situation, if he wasn't there, then it wouldn't have been possible. Right after the 7 spiders were killed, they heard a strange shriek. The first small boss had brilliantly arrived. Everyone hadn't yet seen the spider yet, when they first heard the shriek, and then a cloud of dense purple mist spurted out. It's a poisonous spider, 7 Fields yelled. But this cloud of purple mist came out too suddenly. The range was extremely large. 2 members weren't able to dodge it in time and immediately pulled out 2 antidotes to use. After using them, they turned greatly alarmed. Their life was still declining. Why isn't it working? The 2 alarmed. The grade of the antidote is too low, Yishu said. F***ck. The 2 players cursed. They hadn't come to this dungeon when they were low-leveled. After reaching high levels and returning, this dungeon wouldn't have such a problem. At that moment, they were still under-leveled compared to the monsters. How could they have thought to detoxify the poison? They had carefully prepared 2 antidotes, but in the end, they couldn't use it when the boss came. Hadn't they been cheated? Lord Grimm swung his arms and casted heals onto each of them. Afterwards, he rushed up to the boss number 1. At the same time, he began directing the 2 non-poison players 7 Fields and Sleeping Moon and pointed his lance backwards, yelling, 7 Fields stand at 1 o'clock. Little Moon Moon go stand at 4 o'clock. Little Moon Moon. Dot. Sleeping Moon almost coughed up blood, but this wasn't the time to argue. 7 Fields, without questioning him, ran towards the 1 o'clock position. Sleeping Moon also ran to his position without delay. Boss number 1's poison mist had already rushed out. This guy was big and beefy and was at least thrice as big as normal spiders. This type of massive freak was much easier to hit than the small midnight phantom cat. But large monsters had a different advantage. Due to their relatively heavy weight, knock-up or other displacement skills had a reduced effect. How much it was reduced by depended on its weight and the attacker's strength. This boss number 1 in front of them could be considered a huge monster. When Lord Grimm stabbed forward, it didn't even tremble. It was clear that this sort of normal attack would not knock it up at all. The experienced Yishu was not surprised by this. His fingers flickered and Lord Grimm did another 4-hit combo. The big spider screeched. It raised its head and spit out a thick fog. But Lord Grimm had already turned around swiftly and slipped away. Although this boss's body was big, its actions weren't slower than a normal spider. Its jumping power was also remarkable. It jumped as if it were Mount Tai wanting to crush Lord Grimm. He flipped over and rolled away. The one called Little Moon Moon silently said, "Hello? Do you want us to stand here so you can fight by yourself? Then you two, one of you move to 7 o'clock and the other to 9 o'clock, Yishu yelled. How much of a gap between us? The 2 people ran while asking. A 2-meter radius, Yishu said. After falling into position, the 4 people had already formed a circle. They looked at each and had no idea what they were doing. Seeing that he was still soloing the boss, was he just arranging seats for them to watch him play the game? Lord Grimm dodged left and right, finally bringing the boss running towards them. The four people immediately prepared for battle. The boss suddenly jumped high up into the air and it looked like it was going to squash Sleeping Moon. Sleeping Moon wanted to dodge, but heard Yi Shu shout, "Don't move." Revenge. This guy seized the opportunity to take revenge. Sleeping Moon felt that his mind was a sheet of dazzling light. Without thinking, he ignored Yi Shu's words and rolled away. But when he turned around and looked, Lord Grimm had already used a Sky Strike on the spider boss's stomach. Sky Strike, a specialized class's knock-up skill, was obviously going to have a greater effect than a normal uppercut. After the falling spider received this, it turned sluggish in midair, and had already shifted direction. Although the Sky Strike didn't have much of an effect, the monster had already been in midair. When it changed direction, it fell nicely in the center of the four people. 7 Fields front kick it. 9 o'clock lunge, 7 o'clock repel. Little Moon Moon, hurry up and return to your position. Yi Shu and the four players had been together for a long time. He had already seen all of their skills. Now that they had surrounded it, Yi Shu even directed what skills they should use. 7 Fields rushed up and front kicked it. This was a striker skill and had a small knockback effect. Although the effect was reduced on the big spider boss, it would still push back the boss a little. The player at 9 o'clock also jumped up to execute a lunge. This Blade Master skill also had a knockback effect like 7 Fields front kick. The kicked back boss was hit again. At this point, these experienced players already understood Yi Shu's intent. The 7 o'clock player welcomed it and used repel. This was a night skill. From the name, the effect of this skill was the most outstanding one among them. But the boss was pushed into the 4 o'clock position where no one was there. This was originally Sleeping Moon's position, but because he thought Yi Shu wanted to kill him, he dodged to the side. Even though he was already running back to his position, it was already a little too late. Everyone already understood that Yi Shu wanted them to play billiards with the boss as the ball. This reasoning could only have been made through the strong points of each of the four players. What were their strong points? Familiarity. The four players were all veterans that came together as friends. They had some mutual understanding between them, so they could do this sort of formation. Only now, this easy situation had been destroyed by Sleeping Moon. Even 7 Fields and the others were a little unhappy. At this crucial moment, when the boss was about to leave the encirclement, Lord Grimm suddenly appeared at the 4 o'clock position. Everyone was startled. Lord Grimm had been standing at the 11 o'clock position. They hadn't seen him move. How could he have suddenly moved to there? They looked towards the 11 o'clock position and discovered to their astonishment that there was another Lord Grimm. Minnesota, 7 Fields suddenly understood. Level 10 Ninja Skill, Shadow Clone Technique. Chapter 15, Spider Cave 4. Shadow Clone Technique was a type of deception skill. Only towards experienced opponents, it was easy to see through the trick. As a result, the trick really only worked on NPCs. When players dueled, the Shadow Clone Technique was most commonly used by the ninja as an instant movement skill. Now, Lord Grimm used it like this. The fake body was kept in the original position while his real body used the Shadow Clone Technique to instantly move to what was originally Sleeping Moon's 4 o'clock position. Everyone was still worried though because level 10 battle mages didn't have any displacement skills yet. How would Lord Grimm knock back the spider boss? They quickly realized that they were worrying too much. Lord Grimm didn't have any skill that could do so, but he had technique. A Sky Strike knocked up the spider boss a little bit. Using this short time frame, he immediately rushed forward and hit it twice, pushing the spider boss towards Sleeping Moon. Sleeping Moon was already standing on Lord Grimm's original 11 o'clock position. Lord Grimm's fake body still stood next to him. At this moment, Sleeping Moon felt absolutely embarrassed. He even hoped that Lord Grimm would reprimand him a few times. But in the end, Lord Grimm didn't say a thing and just accurately pushed the boss towards him. Sleeping Moon understood what he needed to do. With a lunge, the big spider was once again kicked away. Sleeping Moon mentally prepared for the incoming criticism from everyone, but in the end, he heard everyone amazed, "It's bleeding." It wasn't a person that was bleeding, it was the spider boss. The bleed status effect couldn't be made through a normal attack. It had to either come from a weapon effect or a skill effect. At the present, no one's weapon had this effect. But there were skills that could cause this effect. Double stab, a battle mage skill. Only, the bleed effect from the stab was a hidden effect. It wasn't triggered through chance. It relied on the player himself to trigger it. The method to activating it was by having both strikes from double stab hit the exact same spot. This didn't mean that both of them hitting an arm was fine. It meant that the second strike had to hit the hole that was stabbed open by the first strike. Only after doing this would there be a chance for the bleed effect to take place. As for the probability of this happening, especially for a hidden effect, the data didn't display it. After players tested it, it was believed to have more or less a 50% probability. This probability could already be considered quite high. Only, it could only be done after completing a specific action. It was easy to perform this action on a dead target, but in non-stop combat, it required precision and reaction speed. Glory had a lot of similar hidden skill effects, which all required difficult actions to activate. If a normal player were to stab out a bleed, 7 fields and the others would have considered it to be luck. But for Lord Grimm to do so, they all considered it to be skill. With regards to Yishu's skill, they were already thoroughly convinced. It wasn't just his individual skill, but his command over the team in this boss fight too. He wasn't an ordinary expert, he was an expert among experts. 7 Fields already felt somewhat embarrassed over trying to rope in Yishu because their Full Moon Guild wasn't even considered a top guild. In the Heavenly Domain, they were ranked over 50. They held no records in any of the dungeons there. In this sort of common guild, 7 Fields felt that they couldn't accommodate for this player. The others didn't know if they all had the same thoughts as 7 Fields, so everyone just silently attacked. In the process, it was hard to avoid a few minor slips. But Yishu promptly warned them, so disaster never occurred. Just like this, boss number 1 was easily killed. After looting the corpse, they found a blue equipment. But because it was low-leveled, no one really cared much about it. It would become outdated in an instant anyways. At this moment, however, they all required that Lord Grimm picked it up. Even though Sleeping Moon didn't say anything, he also silently chose to give it up. Yishu looked and saw that it wasn't much better than a green level 10 belt. But since everyone renounced it, he could only courteously accept it and wear it. They continued forward. Afterwards, they employed the same tactic. Boss number 2 was a web-spitting long-range type spider. Annoyingly, it would frequently spit out webs onto the cave, flying and jumping around like Spider-Man. But under Yishu's leadership, the 5 finally brought this fellow into a corner. Only this time they didn't play billiards with it, instead they used skills that stunned one after another. Yishu dispatched boss number 2 through chain stuns, so it wouldn't be able to spit out webs again. Naturally, the 4 players began worshipping Yishu to a whole new level. This person was their MT as well as their main damage dealer. From time to time, he would even heal them. After doing so, he would plan tactics and then carry it out. The 4 could no longer use words to describe him and could only worship, and worship him again. The Spider Cave Spider Lord was another difficult part of the dungeon. This guy had the strengths of both small spider bosses, web-spitting and poisonous. It had 8 hairy legs and a belly full of patterns. It was twice as big as a small boss and was extremely nauseating. Confronting this final boss, 7 Fields and the others weren't nervous at all because they knew that under Lord Grimm's commands, there wouldn't be any problems beating this 2-in-1 boss. As expected, this fight was just as easy as the last ones. This 2-in-1 Spider Lord was just a bit fatter and had a few extra tricks. Under Yishu's commands, they controlled the field smoothly, dispatched it. First clear. At this moment, the announcement system impressively lined up the names of their 5-player party. Sleeping Moon, 7 Fields, Sunset Clouds, Drifting Water, Lord Grimm, 10th server, first Spider Cave clear. 7 Fields and the others were all astonished and went into an ecstasy. Although their leveling wasn't considered slow, they wouldn't have ever thought that they could be the first ones to clear Spider Cave. This was all thanks to the great expert Lord Grimm, or else it wouldn't have gone so smoothly. Minnesota, and at this moment, another party of 5 in the spider cave all shouted together when they saw this announcement. In front of them, there was only a sliver of health left on the Spider Lord. They would have been able to finish it given 10 more seconds. But now, they lost to these 10 seconds. Regretful and unwilling, the 5 players all dreamed of the countless ways they could have made up for those 10 seconds. In the end, they could only admit to reality. Their dream was to have their guild be the first to clear every dungeon in the 10th server. But just then in this second dungeon, their dreams had already been crushed. 10 seconds. They had only lost by 10 seconds. Lord Grimm. Wasn't this the person that was the first to kill the Midnight Phantom Cat? The Spider Lord had already collapsed. The 5 players had smoothly cleared the dungeon, but they weren't happy at all. I think so. Where did this person come from? This person has also been on the announced twice. Blue River, he's just like you.